In this lesson, we'll figure out how to solve systems by using elimination without multiplication. So previously we did graphing and substitution. Now we're going to do elimination. To solve by elimination, you want your equations to be in standard form, which looks something like x plus y equals a number. So you want x and y to be on the same side. Then you're going to add the columns to eliminate one variable. And so what that's going to look like is I'm just going to put a plus sign between each of these, and then I'm going to solve them this direction. So for this part, 4x plus x is 5x. Y plus negative y is no y's, so those are just going to cancel out. And then 2 plus 3 is 5. If you look, my y's have now disappeared, and I can just solve for x. So I divide by 5 on both sides, and x is 1. Just like graphing and substitution, I want to have an ordered pair for an answer. So right now I have the x value, but I don't have the y. And so to find the y, I need to take this x, and I need to plug it into one of these equations. So I'm going to choose this bottom one just because it looks a little more simple. And so I plug in, instead of x, I'm going to write a 1 minus y equals 3. And then I'm going to start solving for y, so I subtract 1 from both sides. And I get negative y equals 2. If I divide by negative 1, y equals negative 2. And now I have my ordered pair. We're going to use the same process for the second one. So these are both in standard form. We're going to add the columns. And again, that means I'm going to look this direction. So when I add x plus negative 7, I'm going to get negative 6x. When I do negative y plus y, I have 0 y's. And when I do 3 plus 3, I get 6. I'm going to start solving for x, so I divide by negative 6 on both sides, and I get x equals negative 1. Just like before, I want my answer to be an ordered pair. Right now I have the x, but I need the y. So I'm going to take this x, I'm going to plug it back into one of my original equations. I'm going to choose this top one, but you can choose either one. And so I have to plug in my x, so negative 1 minus y equals 3. I would add 1 to both sides, and I have negative y equals 4. I would divide by negative 1, and I get y equals negative 4. So my solution for this system is negative 1, negative 4. Take a minute and try to do this one on your own. So pause the video and try to solve for x and y. Just like before, I'm going to add the columns. So I have negative 7 plus 4, which is negative 3x. I have 4y minus 4y, and so those cancel out. And I have 24 plus 0, which is 24. I divide both sides by negative 3, and I get x equals negative 8. I need to plug that back in. I'm going to choose this equation here. So I have 4 times negative 8 minus 4y equals 0. 4 times negative 8 is negative 32. I would add 32 to both sides. I get negative 4y equals 32. And when I divide by negative 4, I get negative 8. And then last, I need to write this as an ordered pair. So negative 8, negative 8. Take a minute and try this one by yourself. So pause the video and then try this one. Just like before, I'm going to add the columns. So I have 3 plus negative 3x, so those are going to cancel out. I have 4 plus negative 2y, so that's going to be 2y. And I have 9 plus negative 3, which will be 6. I divide both sides by 2, and I get that y equals 3. Now I need to find x, so I'm going to choose one of my equations, and I'm going to plug in a 3 for y. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. I could add 6 to both sides. I get negative 3x equals 3. And when I divide by negative 3, I get x equals negative 1. And so for my ordered pair, I get negative 1, 3 as a solution to this system. On this last example, if I try to add my columns, I get 7 plus 1x equals 8x. I get 2 plus negative 2 is 0y, so those are going to cancel out. And negative 19 plus negative 21 is negative 40. When I divide both sides by 8, I get x equals negative 5. Then I take my x value and I'm going to plug it back into one of the equations. So negative 5 minus 2y equals negative 21. I would add 5 to both sides. I get negative 2y equals negative 16. And when I divide both sides by negative 2, I get y equals 8. So my ordered pair for this one is negative 5, 8. Now that the notes are done, you'll work on the practice page by yourself, and you will need to turn it in before you leave today.